Right, now one of the things that we need to do, particularly in the summer when the plants are growing fast, for plants that you may think about using for exhibition in future years, such as I've got a nice dwarf here. This is a plant called Gosbrook Susanna. This is one of my own varieties. The plant grows very well as what we call a floribunda, which is a dwarf plant grown in a slightly bigger pot. But you can see it's all slightly grey. It's a youngish plant. It's only a year old, if not even that. Where are we? June last year, so it's about 11 months old. I potted it into a 4¼ inch pot, so it's not even in a sort of standard dwarf class pot anyway. I'm probably going to grow this as a dwarf. So I want to get this balanced off, and you can probably see with this plant, it's growing up to one side a bit. So I'm going to give this a bit of a cut back to balance it all off, and I'll show you that process that I'm going to employ. The other thing that is important to do is sort of pull out a good number of the leaves as well. You're not going to have any problems really in the summer with plants growing and losing a few leaves. It's not going to cause any harm at all. But I've got quite a deep stem there that's very long. It's growing lopsided, so I want to take this out quite deep, and there's a bloom coming up there. So I'm just going to take this out down below that bloom to get rid of the lopsidedness of that branch. There we are. So that's that one. I've just sort of cut that out, and you can already see it's balanced off. That was a particularly sort of off-centered stem. And some of these lower branches on the other side, which I'm obviously not going to cut because I'm trying to balance the plant off. But if you see a little break, for instance, on there, I don't know whether you'll be able to see, there's a little break that's going to start growing out into a gap. And that's ideally what you want. You want to get a little break to grow into a gap. And that's what we're looking for all the time. Now this one is growing out very long out the side. It's making the plant oblong. And I want the plant to be round. So that one will come out as well. Right, so there we are. I've got the very basic shape that I'm looking for now. Now, what I'm also going to do, it's important to strip down, particularly these inner leaves. You're not going to cause any issues, particularly anything that's dead or dying down the bottom. And what that's going to do is throw lots of light. Of course, we get lots of light in the summer, even though we've got a shaded glass house, you still got plenty of light. And that's going to encourage all these little breaks down in the base of the plant to form stems and break through. And that's really what we're trying to do to achieve a nicely rounded plant. Right, so there we are. I've really given that a haircut, but you can see I've leveled that right down. I've cut that bit really hard. And what I want to do now is encourage side shoots out of this slightly blanker area. This spaced area here needs to get more side shoots growing into it, and that's really what I'm trying to do now. We've got a nice shoot growing here. That's not going to be stopped. I want that to grow through. There's a nice inner break going there that's going to grow into that gap, and I've got lots of smaller ones right on the base of the stems to grow into this gap as well. And that should really form. I've stripped all of a lot of the leaves off, and the brightness and the light will make that really grow quickly. The two key points, of course, make sure it's very dry when you do this. Nothing worse than trying to do this with a wet plant. It needs to be dry. Let it recover for a couple of days before you give it a little bit of a gentle feed and water again. But that's what I'm doing with some of my younger plants that are earmarked for future year exhibition.